Yeah, around 1990, I come to San Pedro as an innocent young man, about the age of 23, 20, going to 24. Used to be a bodybuilder, lift weight, but I still was doing a lot of worldly things like smoke weed. I used to like smoke weed and drink Guinness, exercise. But from as a kid growing up, I always had God by my side.
Growing up not knowing God, I grew up with a big family and we didn't go to church. We are not Christian. We would just go to Catholic church and say that we are Christian. But as I grew up as a young man, I went and have my own way. I go do what I want to do and finding myself in trouble.
Well, when I was a young boy, my American grandmother sent me to Sunday school for the first 10 years of my life. So I had a basis in Christianity and a basic understanding of Christianity.
And while working with the dive company, I realized I started to put the exercise aside and I started to turn more into like business, but at the same time I started partying a lot, drink, do a lot of crazy worldly thing, go out every night, more drink, more smoke weed, you know, and that was my life until the rum really came into my life and took me over.
I come home, I live a miserable and uncontented life, knowing that something was missing, but I didn't know what it was.
My life since then has been, well, for those of you that are saved, has been that different and that dramatic. It's like going from the headache to the aspirin.
Okay, as time went by, I have heard about Pastor Ian at Living Word Church, but I didn't know him. I just heard about him. So as we continue going to church, me and my wife, we get to talk to him as he come around us. He was very friendly as he greeted us.
I first met Pastor around the same 1990. I think some of my last job that he did, he actually came to Journey's End. At that time we had the dive shop at Journey's End Resort, and he came to put a phone into the dive shop, and very stern young man at that time.
Ian and I met through aviation at the Belize International Airport when we were both, I'm going to guess, both in our 20s. And this was before Pastor had come to Christ, so he was a very different man than the one that we know now. I had been saved, but I had backslid so much that I was actually in much worse shape than he was.
As time goes by, we become more friends. We share our family together. We have dinner at his house, and he comes at my house to share his friendship with his family. And
we live in a house, what we call the rat house. It was a L house. We live upstairs, and then we live in a small house inside of the yard, right? And he started his ministry under the tent, and we went to the tent a couple of times.
When he moved to San Pedro in the 70s or 80s, I guess, is when I got to know him a little better. And at that point, he had been saved, and my spirit wasn't ready for any kind of association with someone that spiritual.
we went to his home times. He invited us, and he comes to my house, and we shared friendship. We shared stories about each other. We talked about our life, and we went fishing at times. We had good fun times together with his family and my family.
And we actually started to go to church as church goers. At the time, I never married yet, and me and my wife used to just go sometime. Most of the time, I go half drunk, hangover. And we started to spend some time going around. And being in at the same yard, I think they used to hear we quarreling a lot.
Pastor Ian and I, over the course of several months and over a year now, not only had a relationship as a parishioner and as a pastor, but also I consider him my friend. We spent countless hours together. If I had a question in my studies that I didn't understand, I'd call him on the phone or text him and he'd answer me. It's kind of like if someone wants to ride to Belize, they say, okay, there's the plane, go start it and figure out how to get to Belize. Well, that's kind of how I saw my Christianity when I first got reintroduced to it, because I didn't understand anything. And without someone to guide me and someone to help me and someone to show me, I'm not sure how far I would have progressed, but I'm sure that I wouldn't have progressed as far and as quickly as I have now.
After we started to help out, like do the lead crusade or do any mission around the church that Pastor asked us to do, how we could help out, whatever. Pastor, usually from that point, he started telling me, Steve, I'll pray for you. Everybody at this point in time, I started to consume more alcohol. I mean, I was consuming alcohol. If you'd put it in a one thing, it'd be a whole sea, very deep, the amount I used to drink, but Pastor never gave up on me. Every time he see me, he says, Steve, I'd pray for you. Come to church. I'd pray for you, Steve. Without no failure, every time he see me on the street, anywhere, I always invite me to church, right? And I was, yeah, Pastor, soon, and at this point in time, all of us know our fear. All of us know what our weakness is, right? And we don't want to give up a weakness, but we usually hide behind it. So me, I just like drink and do other stuff, so I just hide behind those time if I avoid going to church or become a Christian. And about 8 years ago, some changes started to happen in my life. I drink myself, everything started to fall apart around me. I mean, everything. Even my family, they look for left. So one day, I just get up. I talked to God before. I just lay in my bed and I say, God, just help me stop drink. And he come to me and tell me, Steve, I want to help you, but you have to help yourself, right? So I get up and I started to go to church right then and there. Go up, worship, but again I still made a drink. Still made a drinking, and then I just stopped. And this time Pastor started to pray for me, call me one side, sit down and talk to me. One of the biggest impact that Pastor have done in my life that make my life changes in my life, that everywhere is see me, it make sure it heal me. That made a big impact in my life. Like everywhere you see me, wave your hand and heal me, heal me, heal me. And that kind of started to rub off, and I started to continue to go to church now. Instead of one service, 2 service. And we started to pray and talk, develop a real friendship. First we made a yard friendship with everybody living inside together. Then we all went about our own business. And this time we started to turn a family at the church. I started to go. My family started to come in a little bit afterwards, started to follow and come in with me. And then we all started to turn a family at church. Not at Christ, at church. And my big impact that when I say pastor, I mean don't have nearly an year going to church. When I say pastor, like for the men's ministry, gone at the police station, and before I get locked up for, I leave it. Innocently, I get locked up for a few hours, right? And now I started to help paint the walls and everything. I consider myself again a born again Christian. But now, watching Pastor and all these guys and myself just painting with love, without no question, without no flaws. Not perfect painting, not perfect fixing the station, but perfect friendship, perfect love. Midday.
When I decided I needed Christ back into my life, there was really no big consideration. It was a direct choice to get Ian involved. He came by my office and we prayed. I re-accepted Christ, renewed my vows, as it were. But I still was holding back a lot. At some point, a few weeks or months after Ian and I had talked and he had reintroduced me to Christ, I got physically ill with a pretty bad but not deadly disease. And the fear of this disease threw me into depression. And the depression really, really, really messed me up. And instead of reaching out to my family or to my friends, I reached out to my Lord. And I needed advice on how to go, how to pray, how to perceive this problem that I had and how to put it in perspective. And as a result of that, Ian came to my house every night for months and prayed with me and ministered with me, taught me, guided me and helped me, and brought me to a point of understanding and to a point of not just being saved, but of internalizing my salvation and realizing that I didn't have to carry these burdens, and brought me to a point of not just being able to accept my sickness, but being able to appreciate everything else in my life that worked, which is 99% of it. So for this, I'm eternally grateful.
Now I know that the Holy Spirit, they tell me, Steve, tonight at the night, tonight at the night, tonight at the night. So when I get a station, I tell Pastor, tonight at the night. And Pastor said, tonight at the night? Okay. I say, yes, Pastor, I want to accept Christ publicly. And Pastor hugged me up. I pray, he said, Steve, say after me, and he lead me in the prayer of salvation. And he said, Steve, no worry about nothing. He says, from this point, you're a child of God. He said, put everything behind you. And he said, God want to take care right for you. He said, and I bring a lot of love in your heart. He said, Steve, one thing Pastor always tell me, he said, Steve, he said, you know, a talented, raw talent. He said, put your thing into use. Now we're going back inside, and he introduced me to them guys as a new person. He said, this is officially born again brother Steve, right? And I feel so different from that point till now. Still feel the same way in my heart. And the guys welcome me, and we continue. And from there, me and Pastor started to talk. Because as a man, I like quest things, right? I like quest everything.
Pastor, I want to be thankful to you for all your encouragement and your teaching, and that many times that you are always there for me and my family when I was down in my spiritual walk. You're the only person that really inspired us, me and my family. I know you prayed for me and my family. I know you're praying for other people because you love them and you know that they need the Lord. Thank you for everything. You are such a great person, play a great role in my life. Thank you, Pastor, again for everything.
My dear brother, my pastor and my friend, I quite literally owe you my life, and I just don't mean my spiritual life, I mean my physical life. You walk the walk, you talk the talk, you do what you say you're going to do, and you do it on time. I can't thank you enough for the help you've given me directly, my wife directly, my 5-year-old son directly, and indirectly the help that you've given all the rest of my family members and friends. Thank you, and God bless you.
Pastor and Sister Lourdes, I want to give you so much thanks, more than you guys could expect. You guys does not understand, word cannot express the thanks that I wanted to give to you guys and share with you guys the love. For my Christian walk, I'm still in a junior stage, thanks to Sister Lourdes that is discipling me and my wife. And we have grown so much, and we're still at that early stage, and we're willing to learn. Pastor, you amaze me how you preach, you know. And one thing I have done, and I tell you this over and over, how I have taken scriptures from your teaching every Sunday